Hey, here we go. Check this out.
This is Whole Nother Level with Dwayne Lindo.
You know, frankly, I feel that we shouldn't even be talking about this. Simple as that.
The great L. Bushman.
They'd have to make so many adjustments, but I don't know what they have to do. They need a miracle. They need a miracle.
Frank Mazzei.
Did they win the offseason in free agency? Yes. What does that mean? Absolutely nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Craig Cousin.
How can you not put Tom Brady number one on the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks? Man, this guy's a legend. Rings speak.
And Eric Wilson.
I didn't know Eric was going to let you talk.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. I've seen enough Facebook posts to know that you're not a Giants fan. Let's go.
Pittsburgh.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Office Bar, 1989 Ridley Boulevard. We are HNL3, breaking down the Thursday night football game that is the Los Angeles Rams against the San Francisco 49ers. I'm your man, Eric Wilson. I'm joined by, I guess, the two OGs that we've been doing this for a while, fellas. It's been going on for quite some time. So I'll start with the man in the middle here, Mr. Dwayne Lindo. What's up, Dwayne?
Wow, the two OGs, man. Yeah, this is bringing it way back here.
Yes, it truly is.
I mean, back to 2009. It's funny, you asked before the show, what year is this?
I know.
Yeah, about 2009.
8 years, the three of us together. And then sitting next to him, of course, this man is almost as bad as Adam Schefter. Always on his phone, trying to find whatever's late breaking news. He is Frank Mazzei. Frank, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm just a little unorganized, but...
Well, he's quite the journalist. You know, he's always checking on his phone.
This man is always doing it. So we are, again, HNL3. And I want to start very simply by, Mr. Lindo, I have to ask you a question, sir.
Do we have to talk about this?
Yes.
Me being a Giants fan?
Yes, we do. I have to.
Wow. What?
Happened to your New York Giants on Monday night? This was a game where
Do you have a few minutes?
we got an hour, so yeah, I'm good. What happened to your New York Giants?
Dude, look, here's the situation. We talked about it Monday here at the office where the offense wasn't clicking at all.
Right.
Let me start off by saying...
Well, that's an understatement.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, look, let me just start off by saying Eli Manning, the first two games he's played thus far, really hasn't gotten anywhere. You have a new wide receiver in Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall has probably 20 yards with 2 receptions in this year. I mean, this is the Brandon Marshall we're talking about. I mean, almost like a top caliber wide receiver we're talking about here that has 2 receptions for the year.
He's stealing money. He stole money last year. I mean, look, he killed my fantasy team. I mean, Brandon Marshall's, he's done. He's washed up. I mean, he's collecting a paycheck.
I mean, come on. I mean, let's rewind a little bit here. Would you say that he's washed up, or that he just needs to have a little bit more, camaraderie or cohesion with Eli Manning? Do you think he's truly washed up?
I think he's done.
Wow.
Stealing money. He's a bum.
You're saying that Brandon Marshall is officially gone, and that he just needs to go ahead and retire. Is what you're saying? He's done.
Well, I'm not saying that.
No, I'm asking.
Yeah. I got 0. If you look at his numbers over the last couple of years, I mean, he's not getting better, and he's only getting older. I mean, and now again, the offensive line is not helping him. I get that, but the Brandon Marshall. I mean, look, you look at him from last year, even when he was still with the Jets. I mean, okay, you can blame the quarterback, this and that, but he didn't do very much. Well, yeah, he's dropping a lot of balls. I mean, like balls that are hitting him in the hands, like it was hot.
He's dropping a few, but you got to understand too. Eli Manning is part of that equation as well. I think timing is off. His timing is off. Eli Manning's timing is off. So these two guys have to get it together. I mean, you would think preseason they'd have some kind of cohesion going together, but there is nothing there. I mean, absolutely nothing.
Eli's running for his life. I mean, it's hard to blame him. I mean, he's out there just trying to survive. I mean, look, you want to talk about what New York could do. I mean,
O-line.
You might want to try and draft some guys for that O-line. I mean, you brought in DJ Fluker, which, part of that last name is right. He's basically,
right.
A fluke.
Yeah.
And that's it. You did nothing else. I mean, your first-round draft pick, you took a tight end. I mean, now granted, he's a pass-catching tight end. You need offensive line. I mean, you need a running back.
Now, how many times did Eli get sacked last night? I'm sorry, Monday? Maybe about 5 times, 6 times?
And we're talking Detroit. I mean, look, it's only 2 games, so we don't know what Detroit could be this year.
Right.
But it's still the Detroit Lions. I mean, come on. I don't expect them to be world beaters, and I don't think anybody has them making the Super Bowl this year. So, but the New York Giants offense made that defense look
great.
Well, look, they made the Dallas defense, the defense that Trevor Siemian and the Denver Broncos just basically rolled up. I mean, 3 points. You can only score 3 points on the Dallas. The Dallas defense is not good. That's. I mean, most of their starters are suspended for drugs or beating people.
Right. And I got to tell you too, Frank. The top of the line here is Eric just posed the question: what was going on, or what is going on with the New York Giants? And the top of that, problem list is the O-line. I mean, Flowers really just letting the defensive line from Detroit, just letting them right in. I mean, something's got to change, and it's going to be a long season for the Giants if things don't happen. And I think McAdoo might be slightly responsible for this.
Well, not according to him, he's blaming Eli.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing too. I mean, you're throwing your quarterback, your leader, under the bus. He
drove the bus. He threw him under it and then drove over and backed up.
Basically what you're saying is Ben McAdoo basically needs to reformat and figure out what he needs to do in order to get this team right. Because they are 0-2.
Look, it's hard for most teams. I don't say you don't push the panic button after 2 games. New York, you can go ahead and push that button because that O-line is not getting better. You're not getting new offensive linemen in the middle of the season. I mean, you might want to start looking for some trades before the trade deadline, but that's not going to happen. What you need to do, you better run a 2 tight end set. You didn't draft Eric Ebron to block. He's not a blocking tight end. Mm-hmm. He's basically a pass-catching option only. So you better get some tight ends in there that can block and help on that O-line.
Right.
I mean, you got to be creative, basically. Your offensive line is garbage, and you're not doing extra things. I mean, you got to think.
Right. And here's the thing. Preseason, prior to the season starting, who would you have said had one of the best wide receiving cores in all of the National Football League? I would say the New York Giants. You have Odell Beckham. You have Sterling.
Yep.
Brandon Marshall, albeit he's not the Brandon Marshall of old. I kind of get that. But still, I mean, Brandon Marshall, an old Brandon Marshall, is better than many wide receivers in the NFL. So, I mean, with that being said, they're not even in the equation. I mean, none of them. I mean, Odell Beckham, okay, he's had a few great receptions in the past 2 games, but that's about it. I mean, there's nothing going on with this offense.
And that really sucks because you know what? I like the Giants. I've never.
You really like the Giants?
Well, here's the thing. Yes, you're in my division, but
you're happy about this.
But out of the 4 teams outside of my own, I had respect for the Giants. And now, looking at this, I cannot honestly say to myself, I actually think that the Giants may finish last in our division, Dwayne.
I don't know.
I mean, I'm looking at the schedule, and I'm looking to see what's going on here. And clearly, between Ben McAdoo and Steve Spagnuolo, they don't seem to have their game plan together. It is pretty much go out there and try to figure it out. They are an on-the-fly kind of team right now. And you can't do that when you're in the NFC East. You can't do that when you're in one of the toughest conferences. And then, it's pretty bad.
The defense is not terrible. The defense is of good caliber.
It's
basically.
Respectable.
But when you're on the field all the time because your offense can't do anything.
Right.
And I mean anything.
Exactly.
I mean,
that's a problem.
Exactly. Any defense is eventually going to wear down. I mean, just look, ask Seattle what it's like when your offense sucks.
No, I get it. I truly get it. But I just have to look at this team, and this was a team going in, Dwayne, to answer your question or from your point from earlier, you had one of the best wide receiving cores. You have a top wide receiver in Odell Beckham Jr., you've got a great slot receiver in Sterling Shepard, and you have the veteran presence of Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall, to me, was almost the missing piece of that wide receiving core that was going to make the Giants formidable.
And that's why he was brought on board. That's the same reason he was brought on board.
And granted, you have no run game, which I still don't understand. But to Frank's point,
it doesn't matter because you don't have an O-line.
That's my point.
Unless you're
you don't have an offensive line. You can't protect Eli. I'm sorry. Eli, number one, is up there in age, and number two, he is not a mobile quarterback. He scrambles when he has to, but it seems like he's doing more of that. He's trying to do more to try and salvage a play, but on the flip side, he can't do anything because the offensive line just completely collapses from the moment the ball's hiked.
Well, unless there's a Barry Sanders out there, I mean, that's basically the only kind of running back that can help them, somebody that doesn't need a good O-line and can basically avoid everybody.
But even though, I mean, you're as a running back, if you are a top-tier, great running back, your yards are going to be cut down considerably. That's just kind of common sense. If your line is of the caliber of the Giants at this point, I mean, that's just unless you're some east-west running back that can, make cuts and kind of evade defenders. I mean,
those aren't grown on trees. I mean, Le'Veon Bell, somebody that's patient, and avoiding. I mean, look, it would be hard for any running back to thrive on that current team right now offensively. And look, I picked them to win the division. I mean, they made the playoffs last year, but they didn't address. And the O-line was a problem last year too. It's not like this just all of a sudden happened. I mean, Jerry Reese has basically been sleeping through those drafts the last couple of years because O-line has not come up basically at all.
So let's flip real quick to, show some love to the Detroit Lions because even though it was against the Giants, the Lions still looked good. I mean, you had their rookie, Jamal Agnew, 88-yard punt return in the fourth quarter just to kind of seal the deal in beating the Giants on Monday night. Sacked Eli 5 times, that Lions defense. I want to get behind them. I was behind them last year. But then they wet the bed the last 4 or 5 games, so it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? This year I can't really get behind them, but they're looking like the Detroit Lions who we want them to be.
Look, it's hard to believe in Detroit because if you look at Matthew Stafford since he's been there, and look, you talk about stealing money. I want.
I knew that was coming up.
We're vying for his agent. If anybody here at the office bar know Matthew Stafford's agent, please let us know and put us in contact with him.
But
I want his agent.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want it in a heartbeat.
Matthew Stafford. If you look at,
there you go.
If you look at his record against big games, teams that have a winning record, he's like 5-46. I mean, it's not even like he is not winning you big games. And the way that team is built, I mean, look, I know you want to have a franchise quarterback, but you got a whole lot of other holes on that team. And, I might have just let him go.
But okay, so you would let him go, but then the question is, who would you replace him with to put those necessary pieces that you're speaking about in place to make Detroit a better squad? You know what I'm saying?
I spend that money on the defensive side of the ball. Look, Amir Abdullah and Theo Riddick can run the ball.
Okay.
And Detroit's offensive line is actually pretty decent.
So you want to
and their wide receiving core is pretty good. So offensively, they're somewhat set. And my favorite offensive coordinator in all the NFL,
Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob Cooter. Just, how can you not like a Jim Bob? Yeah. But build that defense, and I call Cincinnati. Say, hey, what do you want for A.J. McCarron?
So you want a game manager is what you want. With the weapons that Detroit currently has right now, you want more of a game manager rather than a franchise quarterback.
I think A.J. can be better than a game manager because Cincinnati did not lose that playoff game last year because of A.J. McCarron.
I agree.
If you look at that, Andy Dalton, 0 playoff wins. A.J. McCarron should technically have 1 playoff win if his team just wasn't a bunch of knuckleheads and just had a complete, absolute meltdown in the middle of the field. So
with a minute and 47 seconds left, and you have everything going in your favor.
Exactly, and you're winning by like 30 points.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, it's an exaggeration, but they had that game. So look, I don't know what he could be, but we've not seen it. So we know what Matthew Stafford is. He's going to put up yards. He's going to put up numbers. He's also going to throw you some interceptions. So, look, I just think the money could have been spent. But, look, again, I could be wrong. It's only been 2 games. Maybe this is the year that Detroit takes that next step. and gets over the hump and actually wins a playoff game.
Right. And, I think someone said it Monday that Matthew Stafford basically was paid too much, and that's what you're saying now. But the point is, if they're 2-0. This is a place where Detroit, from what I understand, Detroit hasn't been here in a long time. They're 2-0. If Stafford can lead the troops and come up with basically a divisional playoff.
Look, if he wins a playoff game, they'll build a statue of him in front of the stadium.
Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point. I mean, if they can come out of this with a divisional playoff championship, I think the money's well spent. If they and make it to the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, I could absolutely be wrong. I mean, he could light it up and be the MVP this year. But I mean, if you look at their history,
now with this schedule, the next 4 games they've got are Atlanta, at Minnesota, Carolina, and then at New Orleans, all before their bye. So can we honestly say that the Detroit Lions could actually, just for those 4 games, could they actually run the table?
I don't know about all that.
Okay.
That's a tall order.
I mean, look, if you want to look at it, teams, because it's hard to tell who's for real after 2 games. But if you get through those next 4 games with Detroit, if they win those games, then okay, you'd be like, all right, I'd start buying in a little bit, basically.
All right, win 3 out of 4, I would buy into it.
All right.
I'd ride that Detroit, or drink the Detroit Kool-Aid, if you will.
I mean, as we always say, time will tell.
You ain't won a playoff game since like 91, so, I mean.
But then, all right, so I'm going to go back to the Giants because, Dwayne, this is your team, 0-2. Now, listen, we have seen them start 0-2 and still make the postseason.
But yes, we have, but that was a talented New York Giants team. This team, and we've just mentioned it, this team is in disarray. There's multiple issues. We've gone down a Christmas list of issues that the Giants have, and it's not pretty. And if Ben McAdoo, and again, Frank just mentioned it, if Ben McAdoo can't get the ball rolling here, not throw his players under the bus for one, but get the ball rolling here, I mean, really, this is only 2 games into the season.
Right.
This is only 2 games. But I'm telling you, if McAdoo can't get the ball rolling from here on end, it's a wrap. The season's over. And this is only 2 games.
So let me ask you a question.
That shows you how bad that offense is.
To preserve him for future, do you bench Eli?
I don't know about that. Look.
Trying to preserve him for next season. If you think that this season is going to be that bad, as opposed to him going out there.
No.
And being injured. You're saying no.
No, and I'll tell you the reason why.
Okay.
Reason being is Eli's up there in age.
Yep.
He has 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yep.
I mean, you're not going to bench a guy you've had there for years that's on, in all intents and purposes, on the decline. I mean, he's not going to get any better than he is now. I mean, he's pretty much plateaued at this point. So you keep Eli in. Eli knows the offense. He's been there for years. Keep him in. Let's see what he could do. Try to get Eli's a part of the problem as well. I mean, there's a lot of problems the Giants have, but let's get piecemeal fixing all these problems.
Okay.
And I think that's the key, not benching Eli Manning.
All right. I had to ask the question because, I'm trying to think longevity here. I know Eli's got a couple years left in him, and I think that if the Giants were to go out and, kind of to what Frank was saying, if the Giants were to go out and actually spend the money necessary to acquire the pieces, give Eli one last run. I don't want to see it happen, but, I mean, you never know.
It's hard when you look at certain teams and you could point to just like one thing that they need, because usually teams need multiple things. Every team has a weakness.
Right.
Even teams that win the Super Bowl, if you look, you could pick them apart and say, well, okay, this is how you could beat them maybe, but then you got to go and play the game.
Okay.
New York is one of those teams, though, that if you want to pinpoint and look, you could point to 1 or 2 things that beyond that,
right.
Is the defense good enough to win?
Yeah.
Defense is good enough to keep you in. You got a quarterback that can win? Yeah, he's won 2. I mean, he's also led the league in interceptions a whole lot too, but you know he can at least win a couple of Super Bowls.
Wide receivers?
Receiving core? Check the box. Yep. Offensive line and running game. I mean, you basically you have none, and you push Tom Coughlin out the door for Ben McAdoo because he was the young hot coordinator basically that everybody was clamoring around, and look, this could end badly for him.
Oh, I think so. Well, it's the old saying. You don't want to be the man after the guy that shows up after the man. You want to be the other guy. So whoever shows up after Ben McAdoo, I think he's going to be known for turning the team around or getting the Giants back to where, playing New York Giant football. Well, right now, Ben McAdoo, he ain't it.
Well, what you're saying right now is you're saying Ben McAdoo is just going to fail. You're just saying the guy that takes over for Ben McAdoo. You're just saying it's a done deal.
He's the successor. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the guy who comes in after Ben McAdoo will be the guy that resurges the New York Football Giants and gets them back to the playoff stature, smash mouth, run the football down your throat team that we know them to be.
It depends who that is.
Right now, Ben McAdoo ain't getting it done.
Well, in fairness, though, I mean, look, there's plenty of blame to go around, but it doesn't matter who's coaching that team. They ain't going to make that. There's only so much you can do with that offensive line. I mean, coaching can only help so much. I mean, at some point, you got to have at least a little bit of talent. And, dude, what is it, Flowers?
Flowers,
oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like one of them revolving doors, in the hotels.
Right.
I mean, that's basically.
That pretty much sums it up.
If you line up in front of him, I mean, I might be good for a couple of sacks.
You think so?
At least maybe one.
Hey, look, I seen Flowers. I saw the game, and I was in awe on how Ansa is his name, the defensive lineman for
Zeke.
Detroit. Yes, I was in awe. Either Ansa is real good or Flowers is really bad. So I mean, or it might be a combination of both.
It is a combination of the both. Look, Ezekiel Ansah he's a freak. He's an athletic freak, and he only played football for like a year in college. I mean, like, hardly at all. Like, he didn't play up in high school, junior high. Like, so he's one of those late bloomers, basically, that got in late and just had so much raw athletic talent and ability that's why Detroit drafted him. I mean, he was playing college at Brigham Young, which, I mean, let's be honest. If you have
Brigham
NFL
Young.
aspirations, Brigham Young is probably not at the top of your list. He was there because, they need talent and blah, blah, blah.
Unless you're Steve Young, but that's about
well,
it.
Yeah. I mean, look, no, back in the day, you went to Brigham Young because that.
Well, that was a spot, but since then that has changed.
Things, but yeah, it ain't like that now. But Ziggy Ansah, he's one of those rare genetic freaks. But damn, Flowers is just bad.
So Dwayne, let me ask you a question. The Giants will be here in Tampa in 2 weeks. Are you going to the game?
Well, look. If I'm able to go, I will go. I would love to go.
As a fan, Dwayne, are you going to go to this game?
Look, if the Giants lose the games prior to this one,
there's only one more game prior, and it's against Philly, so we'll talk about that on Sunday. But I just need to know, as a fan, the Giants don't always come down here.
Right.
Once every couple of years, you play this team. Sometimes it's in the Meadowland. This time it's down here.
Frankly, I don't know if I will go or not, to be honest with you. I know a lot of guys, a lot of my Giants friends are going. I really don't know. I don't have the – look, I know what you're asking me, Eric. Obviously, I'm a fan.
Yes.
I would love to go to the game.
Okay.
But, look, I'm not that gung-ho that heck, I could be here with you, right next to you and my boy Frank, and watch the game with the boys at the office if I needed to.
And you'd be content with
that.
And
I'd be content with that.
Okay.
So, I mean, either way. But if I had a chance to go, I will go. I'll tell you that.
Okay. If the opportunity presents, you're going to go.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
I just have to know because you know what? You know me. I am a fan regardless of my record. I'm going to go whether we suck or whether we're on top. So I just had to know because.
Oh, yeah. But that's a true fan. And, and I'm the same way. I'm the same way.
So that is me. All right. Gentlemen, I need some help. I have to put my fantasy lineup together this week. So I need to know from you who to start as my running backs this week because
nobody for the Giants.
Well, here's the thing. I'm torn between I want to go with, of course, the two big names right now, which are Kareem Hunt and Tariq Cohen. I want to go with those two guys because I know for fantasy purposes, I feel like they'll be good.
You mean the same Tariq Cohen that did nothing last week for Chicago?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
I think he'll have a bounce-back game.
Okay.
So, but if you think there's someone better, then I need your guys' help. Who should I take as my running backs this week?
Well, look, you just mentioned him.
Who's on your?
Well, no, I'm putting this roster together right now. I'll tell you my fantasy one that I already have.
So you haven't drafted?
I've drafted. This is my free Yahoo one that I do every week.
Okay.
So, of course, at the top is Le'Veon, and then it's Kareem Hunt, and then Zeke, and then LaShawn McCoy, Devontae Freeman. But So I'm asking you two gentlemen. You seem to have the knowledge. Who should I start at running back? If you had to pick one, who would you pick?
Look, I think one running back you may want to pick, and you're going to laugh at this.
No.
Carlos Hyde, San Francisco, tonight playing against the Rams. Rams defense are not that great. Am I right? Or
Aaron Donald's back. Well, although he didn't do much last week,
and he owned up to that.
Yes, he did to his credit. Look,
Oh, I am.
Look.
Oh no, I didn't start them, but I'm going to start them this week.
Look.
There were those that did actually start the Bucs D, and I was shocked and amazed. Yeah, I think they almost. Yeah, they were.
Carlos Hyde
higher than that. This is very true. Go ahead, Frank.
Carlos Hyde's averaging 7 yards a carry, but no touchdowns. So
right,
I mean, you
right.
know, he's
getting
yards.
True. I mean, and you got to understand too. He's the only offense that San Francisco has. I mean, what other offense does San Francisco have?
Very.
And that's the reason why
I like Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer.
I think Dwayne would rather.
I should have retorted saying who. That's what I should.
I think Dwayne would rather have his boy Blaine Gabbert before he goes with Brian Hoyer.
Wow.
Look, I mean,
wow.
Kansas City, look, they play San Diego, and look, San Diego's defense is actually pretty good. They got a decent front seven, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of day he has. Look, Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah,
been having
taste the rainbow.
All right, I'll take Marshawn Lynch. All right, so give me a wide receiver.
Well, it's funny because we're saying Frank gave you some examples for running back, great running backs to start. Not any Giants running backs.
No, of course not.
And you're starting with wide receivers now, and I was going to say don't draft Brandon Marshall.
No, I'm not.
So I'm like, we're going down the Giants list here.
Yeah, if you got anybody for the Giants on your fantasy team, I just
I don't.
Offensively, then
how do you think, honestly? And I know again we'll talk more about this on Sunday. But how do you think Stephon Diggs is going to do against that Tampa Bay defense? What do you guys think?
Well, Tampa Bay's secondary is not. I mean,
it's decent. Yeah, I like. Look, Tampa Bay. Look, you can see the Mike Smith imprint basically for that Bucs defense.
Okay.
And look, I'm a fan. I like their secondary, and I love the T.J. Ward move that they got. I think they're going to be good. And Minnesota's not exactly a juggernaut either. I mean, look, you got Case Keenum.
Yeah, I was going to say Case Keenum is still out there, right?
So I mean, look, their defense is legitimate. I mean, it's going to be a good test for Jameis and the boys. But from that standpoint, I think the Bucs defense actually.
Oh, I already got the Bucs defense. I put them in, but I need a wide receiver.
Look, you can't go wrong with some Antonio Brown.
I know, but he's so expensive.
Julio Jones,
right underneath him.
Yeah, those are the two most expensive wide receivers you're going to get.
Although Antonio Brown's at Chicago, and I'm just like, after what we saw from Chicago, I know he's expensive, but I really think I might take him. Let me ask you guys this question.
But maybe you're looking for a bargain, basically.
Maybe Bryant. He's probably third or fourth.
Martavius Bryant?
Yeah, Dez Bryant. Martavius Bryant as well.
They take no Dez Bryant for what? What he do on Sunday?
Well, just because he's on the Cowboys?
Yes. I am not taking Dez Bryant.
Look,
I wouldn't take Dez Bryant because he's just not good.
Thank you.
Well,
he's sucking it up. I mean,
we saw the last play of the game last Sunday, so that probably pretty much sums it up.
And that's why I say to you, I'm not taking Dez Bryant. What about Martavius Bryant? I mean,
he scored a touchdown last week.
He was. I know he's relatively in. It's Pittsburgh though against Chicago, so I'm really kind of.
Ain't nobody on the Bears can cover him.
True. Okay, I'm taking. You know what? I'll spend the money. I'll take Antonio Brown. I know I'm going to hate myself later on down the road. I mean, my quarterback, it's a homer pick for me, but I really feel like this is the week, sorry, Dwayne, that he is going to go off.
And who's he?
Carson. Against your Giants defense, which, I mean, is okay, but come on, man. And Big Ben's too expensive. Actually, he's not. Maybe I'll take Big Ben.
You there?
He's there. I could get him.
I mean, your top quarterbacks are probably going to be Aaron Rodgers,
Ryan, Brady, Roethlisberger, and Rodgers. Huh.
Makes sense.
I know. Frank, what do you think about Phillip Rivers against Kansas City?
Kansas City's defense is pretty good.
Even without Eric Berry?
Even without Eric Berry.
Or we'll take your boy Alex Smith?
Wouldn't take Alex Smith for anything.
Oh, boy. That's a stretch.
Oh, wait, hold on. Here's one for you. What if I take Jay Cutler against the Jets?
It'd be hard for him to screw that up. As much I'm not a big Jay Cutler fan, but
Right.
damn,
Yeah, but frankly, I still don't think he would do as well as. Well, I mean, if you want to get a bargain, obviously Jay Cutler would be a great pick to take. If you wanted a bargain, I'm guessing he's a bargain.
He is, but I'm taking Carson in the home opener. I can't deny it. I have to take him this week.
you're trying to go into the Goodwill store and find like the Hope Diamond or something. for
No,
like $10 or-
I'm not. I'm just, I only have so much to spend here, so I got to be careful with how I draft these guys. So that's why I'm looking to see who I can get. All right, I will figure this out later. Let's get to the reason why we are here at the Office Bar, and that is the Thursday night game, which is Los Angeles Rams against the San Francisco 49ers. And I just have one simple question to ask you, gentlemen. Are the 49ers going to score a touchdown tonight? They haven't scored one in the first 2 games that they have played this season. So 8 quarters of play, not one touchdown from the 49ers. Are they going to score one tonight?
I would say they do. I mean, Carlos Hyde, again, no one has any faith in Brian Hoyer. Frank just alluded to that.
Right.
His mom likes him.
Well, that's about it. But the whole point is Carlos Hyde is their only offense.
Okay.
I mean, if he can step it up, I mean, 2 games, I think it's 2 games in a row, 100 yards, 7 yards a carry. If he can step it up, they can score a touchdown.
Look, their offense.
No, they really don't. They don't have receivers.
Pierre Garçon
is
who's
the
not-
only.
And Marquise Goodwin dropped 2 balls last week that actually could have helped them do something.
I agree.
mean, not win the game, but at least they should have gotten in the end zone. So they're not helping a lot. But yeah, they really got nothing. I mean, the offense is just. I mean, to say it's bad is like
An understatement?
Yeah, I mean it's. Man, I wonder, is it New York Giants bad?
Well, wow. I mean, it's comparable.
I think it's worse than that.
It's comparable.
Because at least on the New York Giants, they have receivers who actually could catch the ball in key crucial moments. The 49ers apparently can't do that. So Dwayne says, yes. Frank, are the 49ers going to score a touchdown tonight?
Magic 8 ball. Look, I'm going no. Look, the Rams defense I think is going to get better. It's going to get better because Wade Phillips is there. Aaron Donald's back. He's not going to play like he did last week, I don't think. And they have a decent pass rush. So
okay.
The Rams, I know it's division rivals, but
And the short week sometimes does tend to favor the home team. I just feel like when you're an 0-2 team and you really are trying to salvage whatever you can,
and that's kind of the point too.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
Look, everybody knows what the 49ers are. They're a rebuilding team.
Right.
I don't think anybody. There's no real expectations. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's not there going, man, we're going to play him for the playoffs this year. They know. I mean, you're not going to say that publicly, but deep down, you ain't got nothing that's going to win anything. So
no, it is rebuilding, and I totally get that.
You need to get the small victories. Yeah, a victory for the Niners tonight, just get in the end zone. Let's just start there.
Okay.
Start small and work our way up.
Well, no, I agree. Listen,
but you're saying they won't get in the end zone.
You're saying they won't get in the end zone. You're saying they're going to go 12 straight quarters, 3 whole games, and not 1 touchdown.
Well, we've gone 8 with 0, so, what's to say that we couldn't make it 12
So they've got to rely on their kicker. That's what they've got to rely on tonight, and hoping that he can at least get them some points on the board to make it a game.
He's the best player on their team. Robbie Gould is, I mean...
Well, I think Carlos Hyde is the bottom factor or the main factor here in terms of scoring anything at this point. So if that happens, if Carlos Hyde can get into the red zone, they're going to score. Simple as that.
All right.
And some love for, I mean, look, the Rams lost to the Redskins, but they were in that game.
Yeah.
It was on the road. It's not like they could conceivably be 2-0 and actually look like they have an offense now that Jeff Fisher's not there to ruin everybody.
So let me ask you this. You got 2 first-year head coaches, 2 young first-year head coaches, in Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan. Dwayne spoke about rebuilding. So let's go to both teams. If you're Sean McVay, okay, you are now the head coach of the Rams. You're 1-1. Granted, it was against Indy, who you beat game 1, which that was just
not saying a whole heck of a lot.
That was a blowout. And as you just said, Frank, they were in that entire game against the Redskins. So if you're Sean McVay, you've got to feel pretty good about the future for this team. My question is, how do you get Jared Goff, the number 1 pick in last year's, 2 years ago now, draft, how do you get him to buy into this?
Well, look, he's going to buy in because look at what he's doing. I mean, he wasn't putting up any of these kind of numbers. I mean, yeah, it's a small sample, 2 games, but you can already see Jared Goff looks way better than he did last year. I mean, anybody could tell that. If you watched Jared Goff, what little he did play, and then you watched him in those 2 games, I get it was the Colts, and you know, but still, he was still doing things that probably wouldn't have done last year. So, and he's got a coach that understands offense and is actually going to work and develop him. So I think for him, he's already in. I mean, look, because everybody was doubting him. So he's going to see the progress. He's going to see the improvement. They should all buy in. Look, you combine all their points last year, I don't even think they scored 45 points. I mean, Todd Gurley's going to buy in because he's actually getting yards. It's like they can actually run the ball. They can actually do some things. And if they could get anything out of Sammy Watkins, I mean, the Rams are a team that could actually – they actually could have some hope this year.
Right. Speaking of him, will we see a Sammy Watkins sighting tonight? What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Sammy Watkins, great game last week. Look, L.A. has the tools in place to come out with a great season. If you're going to compare and contrast the 2 teams that are playing tonight, obviously the L.A. Rams has the upper edge. Frank just mentioned a few of the players.
They're way ahead, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Rebuilding, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Jared Goff, I mean, he's not the – He's learning. Let's put it that way. He's not the greatest quarterback, but he's learning.
Okay.
So
he's better than Brian Hoyer. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, if you compare just certain positions, I mean, now granted Carlos Hyde is pretty good, but you got Todd Gurley, you got your quarterback. You have a pretty decent wide receiving core.
Okay, so let's go down really quick to position. So you're saying at the quarterback position, you give the advantage to the second-year guy, Jared Goff, over Brian Hoyer. Yes?
That's
what you're saying.
Brian Hoyer play?
I have seen Brian Hoyer play.
And I'm not saying that Jared Goff is good. I'm just saying I'd take him over Brian Hoyer.
Okay, let's go to the running back position, Dwayne. He just mentioned the 2 guys. You've been talking about Carlos Hyde all night as being the primary, the only weapon that San Francisco has. Do you put him above Todd Gurley?
Oh, man. At this game, yes, I do.
Okay.
This game, yes, I do. Because, again, Carlos Hyde, really, there's other weapons that L.A. has.
Right.
But San Francisco, Carlos Hyde, they're going to rely on Carlos Hyde to score. So I have Carlos Hyde in this game.
Okay.
For the upper hand.
Frank, I'm going to flip back to you. Let's go to the wide receivers. On one side, you've got Sammy Watkins. On the other side, you've got Pierre Garçon. Who are you taking?
I take the Rams wide receivers because, look, Pierre Garçon got all that money, and look, I don't blame him for getting that money and taking that deal, but right now, after 2 games, he's stealing money, basically. I mean, Marquise Goodwin, I mean, you look at the Niners wide receiving core, I mean, look, the Rams, I like Tavon Austin. They finally have a coach. I mean, I'm not saying that he's the greatest. He's not going to set the world on fire, but you can be creative with him. I mean, he's got speed. You bring in Sammy Watkins. You have a running game. So, offensively, yeah, I take the wide receivers of the Rams over the Niners.
Okay, and then lastly, Dwayne, I'll go to you with the 2 defenses tonight. Now, the Rams defense has been able to hold their own. They've done their job these last 2 games. They've either kept them in the game or they've just dominated. Meanwhile, San Francisco, the defense seems to be the side of the ball where you want to show a little bit of love because, and I will always say this,
it's not been terrible.
It's not been terrible, but outside of Navarre Bowman, we ain't seen much from it. So, in tonight's game, Dwayne, would you go with the Rams defense or the 49ers defense?
I would be inclined to go with San Francisco because they're at home, but, I mean, to me, just all the pieces are not together for either of these defenses, but I give the LA Rams defense the edge.
Okay.
Yeah, simple as that.
All right. Well, let's get to our picks. I'm pretty sure I know where the 2 of you are going, but I want to be sure because Dwayne was he's on the Carlos Hyde bandwagon for tonight. He seems to be favoring that San Francisco defense for tonight. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. With how this game's getting ready to go down here in a few minutes, Frank, you are taking the Rams.
Oh, absolutely. Who picked this game? I was like, come on. This is what I mean.
Yeah, this is what you're rolling out on Thursday night.
This is the kind of game that you send to London.
I agree.
Like, here you go, guys. Have at it.
Right.
I got the Rams winning this. I've seen more from them, just based on their 2 games. Granted, short body of work, but they're farther along in the rebuilding process. San Francisco's defense, look, we mentioned it. Solomon Thomas is a good pick, and their D-line's not bad. They got Buckner on there. Reuben Foster's not going to play. Eric Reed is out tonight. But San Francisco's defense is actually not their biggest problem. It's not really great, but you can actually see some hope or be a little bit, if you're a Niners fan, you can maybe at least be like, well, okay. And John Lynch is going to build a defense. He's not going to run an organization and not have a good defense. So, yeah, I got the Rams winning.
Got a score?
23.
23.
23.
20 to 3.
Oh, 20 to 3.
Oh, 20 to 3.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. You said we were like 23.
Get it back that San Francisco won't score a touchdown. So.
Well, yeah. I said it.
He did say that. Well, they can score 6.
Right.
20 to 3. Rams over the 49ers. Dwayne?
Look, although I think Carlos Hyde will be basically the main source for the San Francisco offense, doesn't necessarily mean that I think San Francisco will come out with a W in this game. I always said it. I even said it earlier that the Rams, even though the San Francisco's at home, I still give the Rams the edge in this particular game. Again, because they have more weapons offensively than San Francisco does.
So you're saying the Rams are going to win?
Right.
What's your score?
I say 20-13.
20 to 13. So Dwayne is giving them at least 1 touchdown tonight. That's what he's saying.
I say a Carlos Hyde touchdown.
Carlos Hyde touchdown. I just feel like when you're 0-2, you do one of 2 things. Either one, you go in desperation mode and you just let it all air out and let the chips fall where they may, or you actually rally the team together and say, okay, we need to figure out a way to dig ourselves out of this grave that we're in. So it's hard for me to not side with you gentlemen because I see everything that you're saying. But at the same time, short week, I've got to favor that Carlos Hyde is going to be productive. I feel like we might actually see Pierre Garçon get some serious touches. And the San Francisco defense, for them being not as bad as the offense side of the ball is, if they can hold their own, I'm thinking San Francisco can be successful. So I'm going with the 49ers to win tonight.
Oh.
I know this is a shock.
Oh.
And I'm actually saying that it's going to be 12 to 10. Now, I'm not saying that the 49ers are going to score a touchdown, but I will say that they do get the W tonight.
You can rally. You can bring in Tony Robbins. You can hold hands. You're still losing.
Okay.
Well, look, it's going to be a tall mountain to climb. And again, this is the kind of game that San Francisco needs to win. They're 0. We mentioned this. They're 0-2. They're not playing the New England Patriots here. You find a way to win. That's the thing. You can't fall deeper in a hole, and San Francisco knows that. So, I could see a sense of urgency where they find a way to win, but I just don't see it happening.
Okay. Fair enough. That is going to do it for us here tonight at the Office Bar. We'll be back on Monday. We want to thank y'all for hanging out with us. We are HNL3. Everybody enjoy the game. Have a good night.
Gee, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Autobots, transform and roll out!